When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water. When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, like, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern.
Wait, may I ask, so you're saying that it's in our national interest, vital national interest, to degrade the Russian military, in other words, to fight Russia with other people's soldiers?
I would say it this way. If you think about the world order that we established after World War II, if you think about a rules-based system, where does a rules-based system come from? It comes from this nation, our Judeo-Christian foundation, that says that there are rules of the road, that there is something called absolute truth. And we established that. As a part of that absolute truth, what we're trying to do is make sure that our home front remains safe. Keeping our home front safe means that evaluating the actual threats to our country, the most immediate military threat that could happen is Russia. Why is a good question. You look at their sixth generation jets, you look at their hypersonic weapons, you look at their nuclear arsenal. Everything that we do that degrades the Russian military is good for America. You look at
permanent change is one issue, but also hormonal treatment is a different issue and can be a different issue. And whenever you look at the bill that I vetoed, there was not any grandfather clause in there. Again, I respect legislators that have a different view, but I think independently, I think of the parents, I think of the Constitution, and actually the court, if you read the decision of the federal judge that struck it down as unconstitutional, really sided with parents as well.
But how is it treatment? I guess that's my question. If you have a child who says, who's born a boy, I want to become a girl, he hasn't gone through puberty yet, he's say 10. Is it treatment to prevent him from going through the natural process of adolescence? How is that treatment? It seems not like treatment. It seems like something else.
Well, you have to, Tucker, I hope that we'll be able to talk about some issues. I know that...
Well, this is one of the biggest issues in the country, and I think every person in this room would agree that it is a central issue, because these are children who are being altered permanently, and you can defend that alteration, that change, if you like, but there's really no debate about whether or not it's permanent. And so I think it's fair to ask you in a calm, rational, and I very much hope polite way, why you would support that.
Well, I didn't say what I supported, I said what I vetoed. And whenever you look at children and what they're challenged with in life, I think it's important that in the most sensitive issues that parents are able to guide them through that challenge.
All right, guys, that's enough of that garbage.
Oh, boy.
But as the Babylon Bee put it, Tucker just burned down 3 presidential campaigns in one day with, and those were, of course, 3 different topics that they talked about. But there was Mike Pence saying he doesn't give a flying rat's ass about American people suffering, but we need to send our money and tanks and everything to Ukraine. Then you had Tim Scott underscoring that same thing. Oh, yeah, we need to have a war with Russia. And Tucker asked him, "Oh, we need to have other people fight a war with Russia." Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's just totally fine. Anything we do to destroy, a nuclear armed superpower is going to be wonderful. And then, of course, there was Asa Hutchinson, who had no answer for, vetoing that bill for not allowing children to be sexually mutilated. Except, that's a parents' rights thing. Well, speaking as someone who has a family member who is transitioning as a teenager. It's not a parents' rights thing. That's a human rights thing. And I don't think it went over too well at the family forum when Asa Hutchinson said that, why don't you ask me about something else? I don't want to talk about this topic
I
anymore.
thought I heard Nikki Haley didn't do so great either, but
No, she didn't. She didn't do well either. Although Hutchinson and Pence were the worst. Yeah. And it makes you think too, because be glad for Governor Ron DeSantis being in this presidential race, because if he wasn't, guess where all the no Trump votes were to be going? They'd be going to those people. And at least we have DeSantis to say that, okay, between Trump and DeSantis, with the overwhelming majority of Republican support, the entire neocon agenda is just being flat out rejected by the entire Republican population. So that's cool. And then there was also the beginning of that clip with Kamala Harris, or Kamala, or however you pronounce it. Oh yeah, if we reduce the population, there'll be a lot less pollution.
Yeah. She didn't even flinch.
Anyway.
Like, did she?
Anyway, hey everybody, how you doing? We got a lot to talk about tonight. It's been 4 whole days since our last live stream, which I had plenty to talk about.
Feels like a lifetime. Insane. It happens in 4 days.
I was so confused that night too, because then I was like, oh man, tomorrow's Monday and blah blah blah. I'm like, wait, no, it's Thursday. I'm like, oh no, it's trash day. I'm like, oh my God. Like I was
Yeah, we've been
Oh, go ahead. Well, I was
gonna say we've been playing with our schedule lately.
Yeah, and if Wednesdays are kind of cool, I mean, I liked Wednesdays. It depends on how we get viewerships, and we had a hell of a podcast on Wednesday, I guess, because our viewership was like,
oh, wasn't it?
Although it might have been the topic, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how this one does. I mean, this is kind of the same topic, but I don't know, maybe different flavor. We definitely have some follow-ups because we were talking a lot on Wednesday about all kinds of very bizarre things going on in the Republican Party. Tonight, I want to talk about more about what does work and kind of leave behind this Republican Party drama garbage, but it just doesn't stop,
that would be beautiful if we could please just focus on what works, and maybe then the state party and the state committee members will then get a good idea of what they can do instead of focusing on, I don't know.
We have another guest coming on tonight, or he's trying to connect. We're getting a technical issue, so hopefully he will be able to come on. So we are standing by. Mr. L, if you might want to disconnect and reconnect. Oh, I see we're making progress here. It's now connected, but we don't have video for him just yet, but we'll see. But anyway, we did have a fair amount of response to some of the things that we talked about this past Wednesday. Jonathan Chapman asks, is it Trucker Randy? No, it is not Trucker Randy. Although, well, I'll tell you, I mean, we got some very positive responses. I actually got a call from an old friend in Lansing who said it was a great show, very impartial, and I appreciated that. He had very kind things to say about Amber and about Patty and our other guests as well. Trucker Randy was not so happy about our presentation. And I'll tell you, every time when I finish one of these live streams, there's always things I wish I had said and that I forgot to say, and usually just let it go. And but there was one thing that stuck in my craw after the Wednesday show, which was I was responding to a comment from Trucker Randy. I'd been talking about how the grassroots, or maybe some other segment of the grassroots, sometimes known as the ass roots, have caused some problems, and Randy took umbrage at my statement that the grassroots had been damaging in the 2022 election. And I did equivocate, properly so, because there were other problems in the 2022 election regarding some individuals like party bosses and establishment figures who had caused a lot of problems.
There are a ton of problems.
Back and also point out exactly what really did happen in the 2022 election that was damaging. And that is really what happened at the state convention in August. And for those who weren't there, let me paint a picture for you. This was just after Tudor Dixon had won the Republican nomination. And this is ordinarily the state convention where everybody unifies and now it's time to go beat the Democrats and on we march. And instead what happened was, by the way, he disconnected again. He's trying to get on, guys. We'll see if we can get him. First off, there was a whole number of grassroots people who were actively opposing Tudor Dixon's running mate choice, who was the awesome Shane Hernandez. We had a whole bunch of programs about that. We interviewed him. to let people know what an amazing pick for running mate that he was, and how unbelievable it was that anybody would contest that. But they did. Some of them did. Not all of them did. But it was a confrontational, nasty convention, starting with people that were opposing even the waiving of the reading of the rules of the convention. That's how acrimonious it was. It was so bad that there was no even opportunity for the party to come and together and say, hey, we got a winning team here, guys. Let's go. Let's do this. Because there was the concern that people at that convention would have booed either Tudor or Shane, or, and worst of all, was Ron Weiser, the chairman of the party at that time, someone who had given millions of his own dollars to the party, including in that cycle, donating tons of his own money to fund the Unlock Michigan campaign, which he had no obligation to do, but he did. And, you know, we were fortunate that the Michigan Supreme Court ruled in the way they did and overturned the Emergency Powers of Governor Act. But that was an important thing that he was doing, that he was funding. And when he saw people ready to boo him, ready to kick him off the stage, that's when that guy was saying to himself, why am I giving this party money anymore? Why am I doing anything for these people, these ingrates? And at that moment, on that convention stage, I saw him saying, you know what, screw this. I saw millions of dollars going up in smoke. And if you think that didn't make a difference in the November election, then you guys don't know very much about how politics works. That was a terrible, terrible, embarrassing episode. And that was not the only thing that was devastating in that election, but that was a bad thing. So anyway, all right, rant over. How are you guys doing tonight? Good to see you, Amber.
No, so in all fairness, and I told people this, and John Chapman says people are dumb, hence why we have Christina. I don't think people are dumb. I think they get preconceived notions and they run with them. They're just easily manipulated. They're easily manipulated delegates. They're first-time people that don't know what's wrong, or that don't know what to do, that know they're a problem, but don't know how to fix it. And then I wouldn't call them dumb. I would just call them uninformed. And that's how all of this has occurred.
Yeah, but when you try to inform them and they don't listen.
Well, because they follow cult leaders now. Can we start calling them cults? Oh, I'm going to get some bad responses and emails.
Yeah, well, so be it. You know, I for one don't mind. I mean, if people want to scream and yell at me, all right, well, do your own thing, folks. I did an email blast. Go ahead.
Let me just say right now, I'm Amber Harris. I have a position, but I'm on this show right now as Amber Harris. Yeah. Not in my position. And so people I do have autonomy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you, Adam, have autonomy.
Yeah, I have a similar position. I don't give a flying rat's ass what people think about what I say on this show. If they don't like it, they can, they can complain all they want. But it is what it is. Yeah.
Thanks,
I mean, anyway, we have a guest coming on tonight, William Lonsbury, who I believe is you are someone who was at the recent state committee meeting. Is that right, William?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. Hey, good evening, everybody. So, I'm on the executive committee of the 11th CDRC.
Okay, so you're a district committee member, and you went up to the state committee meeting. Were you there as a proxy or as a guest, or what was your overall status when you were up there?
Well, my role in going was that I was told I couldn't enter the meeting.
Oh,
that it was a closed meeting, and I was there to tell them that they were not correct in their assumption that they can start meetings in a closed session, or more importantly, in an executive session, meaning that everybody not on the state committee or guests of the chair would have to leave the room. So a number of us went up there. It was over 50 to start with.
So, I mean, it sounds to me like it's a procedural violation. I mean, nothing out of the ordinary, honestly, although it should be. But basically, they needed to convene and then go into executive session, but that's not what they did. So was that a cause of some of the conflict?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole reason for all the conflict.
Wow.
In my mind, that was the conflict.
I see. So that was something that became the issue that was raised by the other people, was that the state committee itself was violating procedure when they didn't properly go into executive session. They just told people right from the get-go, you're not allowed to be here, when that's not the case, not until they go into executive session.
Yeah, I actually tried to enter the room through the credentials line. And I actually took the name down and then figured out that I wasn't on the executive committee because I told them I wasn't. And so that we proceeded to discuss the bylaws and Robert's rules that would have covered it, since there is nothing in the bylaws that concerns closed meetings. And so then I had to deal with the parliamentarian and general counsel and chief of staff at that point.
And
So
the parliamentarian.
And then talked to, and then a ruling was made on behalf of general counsel through the parliamentarian, Ralph Rebrandt.
Interesting.
I just hey Adam,
by the way,
I just sent Jessica Toth the meeting link. She's the chair of the 12th. If you want to have her on, that'd be great.
Oh, okay, yeah. If I was gonna say, I would send an email link.
I wonder if she knows who the supreme leaders are.
Yes, well, I do want to talk tonight about these. Apparently, the new supreme leader, which is a very interesting thing. So we'll see if Jessica hops on tonight, because that's the other thing I want to talk about. There is apparently a document being circulated to convert the Michigan Republican Party into a dictatorship, which seems a little bizarre, but I've seen this from multiple sources, and people are confirming to me this document is real. For those who don't know, there is a thing, and William, you've heard about this. There is a thing called the Conflict Resolution Committee in the state party, which I'm not aware of ever existing before this term, but apparently it is something that exists now. And there are these new proposed draft rules which are floating around, and I can bring them up on screen here. Actually, let me do that right now. So this is, I guess, the home page of it, or the front page of it. Let me try to make this bigger, see if I can zoom in a little bit. Let's see here. So it says, okay, here we go. Trying to make this more legible for folks. Can I scroll up? Michigan Republican Party statement on policy and conflict resolution matters. And it says the Michigan Republican Party, pursuant to Heitmanis versus Austin, which we talked about. I think was it 3 days ago or 10 days ago? A case which has absolutely no relevance to anything whatsoever. And also, they also misspelled the word pursuant, interestingly, but never mind that. Here's what the document says: a well-funding Michigan Republican Party environment. It's funny, remember, they've switched, haven't they? Because we've talked about this. All the things that Christina puts out there, she never says Michigan Republican Party. It's always MyGOP. Now it's the Michigan Republican Party. Dan Lawless says Conflict Resolution Committee is indeed a new subcommittee of the state committee created at the whim of the chair and still without actual authority to act. And Dan Lawless is a state committee member, so there you go. If the Michigan Republican Party has mechanisms in place to resolve conflict at its early stages, people generally see the Michigan Republican Party as fair in their dealings with them and will likely be more satisfied with their positions and tasks in the Michigan Republican Party. Reductions in conflict can lead to increased productivity, greater motivation and loyalty, lower costs, fewer claims, and reduced litigation costs.
Who wrote that?
About this.
I want to know who wrote this.
Dollars to Donuts, Jim Kopus or Dan Hartman. But here we go. That's the executive director and the general counsel, by the way, folks. 5 conflict resolution strategies. Counties in the possessive, not plural.
Yeah, counties and congressional districts, what?
Counties and congressional districts in the possessive, not plural, or any other subdivision should consider, capitalized, while trying to resolve their respective conflicts at the lowest possible level. And here we go. And there's this
graphics. Someone's trying.
Yeah, there's an interesting conflict resolution graphic. So this is how you can resolve conflicts in different ways here. And this goes on for, well, there's another page.
Aaron Tuckfield says James was the name on the file creation field. So assuming
there you go. Well, he's a legal scholar. He's a legal scholar, folks. So there you go.
Yeah, but that's
anyway.
Illinois.
So this goes on, different conflict resolution strategies. Conflict resolution strategy number 1, avoiding competing, yada, 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 bullshit. But then we go to, how do I get to page 3? Okay, so now we get to page 3. And after the end of explaining what these different conflict resolution strategies are, it says, recognizing that it is highly likely that conflict shall arise from time to time in each county committee, congressional district committee, or other subdivision of the State of Michigan Republican Committee, we adopt and intend to utilize the following conflict resolution process to handle any and all relevant conflicts that arise in either county committees,
apostrophe
congressional districts, or any other subdivision thereof, as may arise from time to time. Where is your jurisdiction? The state party.
They're trying to make it. They're trying to
exactly.
Be
That's
Supreme
exactly
Lord.
what they're trying to do. That's how crazy this stuff is, folks. They're trying to say that the state party has the authority to control what county committees do and how county and district committees resolve their disputes. And this goes on. Any and all conflicts that do arise are encouraged to be openly discussed and resolved at the lowest level where the conflict originated at all possible. And if the conflict results in any of the subdivision, then said conflict shall be managed by the subdivision or head officer. But the MIGOP General Counsel's Office, which is not only now missing the apostrophe, but also misspelled the word counsel. It's S-E-L. But, Jim Kopus is a legal expert. Doesn't know the difference between counsel and counsel.
Oh, we don't know for sure who wrote it, but
retains the right to call. Okay, you're right. I shouldn't say that was Jim Kopus. Whoever wrote this document does not know what counsel versus counsel is. Retains the right to call and take full control and jurisdiction of any and all conflicts at any time directly to the jurisdiction of the State of Michigan Republican Committees. Again, missing apostrophe. State Supreme Conflict Resolution Committee for review as may be deemed necessary solely by the General Counsel's Office. And what do you suppose these remedies might be, ladies and gentlemen? Well, here we go. If after a good faith effort, yada, yada, bullshit, the decision of the State of Michigan Republican Committee's State Supreme Conflict Resolution Committee shall be final and binding on all relevant parties only if the case has been submitted. And the State Supreme Conflict Resolution Committee shall be a state-level committee organized and appointed by the chair of the Michigan Republican Committee, which is actually not its legal name, in collaboration with the State of Michigan Republican Party's General Counsel's Office, oh, they got counsel right there, for specific terms of service determined in the sole discretion of the chairman of MIGOP. This committee shall report to and be subject to the direction and management of the General Counsel's Office, including but not limited to the ability for the General Counsel's Office to remove and dismiss any committee member it deems necessary at any time.
That's insane.
What? Any county committee member? Any
exactly
member? Any subcommittee? Like
they could unseat the county chair? That's what's scary about this. And Kara says, aren't all county parties doing their own thing?
Where'd this come from?
No, the other one.
Okay.
The other one. She said we should not rely on anyone else. The scary part is this does try to usurp the county's operation. So the county's doing great. MIGOP could come in and just. That's what's scary.
Yeah, but where's the enforcement? Where's the enforcement mechanism of this? Where's the connection? So if the OCRP or Macomb County Republican Party or any other county party is a failure and their finances are in ruin and they're bankrupt, does the state party come in and fix that for them? I mean, are they're the parent group? Are we not our own separate entity? They're not going to be held responsible for our legal problems. You do something funny with money, campaign finance clause. Well, the state's not going to be responsible for it. So I don't see a mechanism where they can enforce anything.
Yeah. Aaron Tuckfield says there's a section that says all parties have to accept the final recommendation, and it is with prejudice, so without appeal. By the way, Jessica Toth has now joined us on stream. However, Jessica, if you have headphones, that'd be good because I'm starting to hear a little feedback since we brought you on. But welcome,
will
Jessica.
do.
In the meantime, though, tell us, say hello, introduce yourself. Go ahead here. Let me take the that document.
Yes, hi, I'm Jessica Toth. I'm the chair of the 12th Congressional District Republican Committee. So Adam, we've been, several of us, we watch you religiously, appreciate,
Thank you.
I always respect your opinion and appreciate what you've done, to advance our cause forward.
Well, thank you very much, Jessica. I appreciate that. We have just gotten through digesting a very bizarre document that's been circulating, that this is apparently what the state party plans to do, which, I mean, I feel like there's two whole separate problems here.
Right, but I want to make sure people know that this isn't our opinion, people. This is a document. This is a document from the state party. We're not dishing. We're not talking bad about anything. This is a legitimate document put out by our state party.
It's amazing. And yeah, I mean, I see two problems with this. I mean, one is the potential usurpation of the autonomy of the county and district committees, which I would note has never, ever been a problem in the Republican Party in the past, ever. Now, all of a sudden, this is what they're talking about doing. And secondly, what they're now talking about doing within the state central committee is allowing the general counsel to just dismiss anybody he wants. Oh, so, you have a problem with Christina, you need to get to 3/4 to have a vote of no confidence. Well, I'm just going to remove anyone that wants to even talk about doing that. I mean, that's where this is obviously going. They're trying to turn the Republican Party from an elected body representing the various counties and districts into a dictatorship. Am I missing something here? Is anyone here disagree with that? In the chat too, speak up if you disagree.
Well, I just thinking back to that town hall that on July 3rd, where Christina said something about sometimes counties don't get along and they need to, if they share a district or a house seat, they need to blah, blah, blah. So this has obviously been in the works, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was something we saw on the stream on Wednesday. Christina campaigned on saying we need to rewrite the bylaws.
She did?
Absolutely she did.
Yeah, we played a clip on Wednesday.
Yeah, that was noted, yes.
Oh, okay. I missed it. Sorry,
we didn't know exactly what she meant by that. And as a general statement, like, oh yeah, there's always problems with bylaws, but now we seem to see what's really going on here. Emma Birch says, who was sent this document and will it need to be voted on? And you guys can clarify this. My understanding is that this is being circulated among the members of the Conflict Resolution Committee within the state party, which has one member of each congressional district. Is that right, William?
Well, my take is that we've got a leaked document.
Yeah.
That's what we have. And so, sure, it would have came out of that committee or it came out of the state committee, but I believe it came out of that committee.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't been passed yet. It's still a draft, but I mean, if people want to say, well, is this document authentic? I mean, folks, I can't make something like this up. Nobody could. And we've gotten this from multiple sources. So,
and Jessica, you as a chair of a district who does work closely with the state party, or you're supposed to, did you get this document?
No, I did not. So I was surprised when someone was sharing that. I was like, well, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Well, Adam, can you bring up the list? If you have the complete document, you have the list of the people on the subcommittee.
On the Conflict Resolution Committee, I do not have that list off the top of my head. No.
Shoot, I do,
no,
but
I only have the text of the document itself.
Where's the list, William? Do you have that?
Yeah, but I'm on my phone, so I'm new to
name a couple of members of the committee, but to what purpose? I don't want to expose them for any of this stuff. I think they're the recipients of this document.
I mean, how did they get on there?
Huh?
How did they get on the committee?
They're all appointed, is my understanding. Is that correct, Jessica? Are you in the state central committee?
I am. I'm on the precinct plan though. So yeah,
okay,
I mean,
but
everyone submitted their
preferences.
But what's that?
How are people's committees assigned? Was that just the chair came up with
you had to list your top 3 committees that you would like to work on, but ultimately the state party had the final decision on where you were placed. They were doing their best to accommodate your choices, but at the end of the day, you could be placed anywhere.
Yeah, so that's the thing. And so yeah, I mean that's like when when lawmakers get elected, they ask to be on certain committees, but the speaker or the minority leader decides what committees they get on. Yeah, so
yeah, Daniel Wallace. Yeah, ultimately, the MIGOP chair had the final say.
Right. So there you go.
And then highlight Jonathan Chapman's. Yeah. Want to talk on that, Bill?
Who is Braden?
Braden Jacob Osby.
This is a good topic for Bill or William. Sorry.
Pardon the spelling or the pronunciation, but he's in the 9th district, so he represents the 9th committee man. So he's the Robert's Rules guru of their little clan. So he's been successful in the 9th doing things. He's the guy, the face that you was seen at conventions, especially the last convention when they tried to run the MR4 unity for MRP. By the way, if y'all didn't know it, District 9 and District 10 counted their votes when we voted at convention using unity for MRP, even when against the state ruling that we all voted on, that we were going to stick with what we'd used in the past. That's why we waited forever on our votes.
Amazing. Oh, well, there you go. Kara asks, why don't all county chairs demand a meeting with Christina to try to get the right story? This wondering in public just helps the other side. Well, I certainly think all county chairs should demand a meeting with Christina to try to get the right story. Here's what I would say to that, though. This is a live document that, if authentic, and it by all appearances is, this is the makings of a coup. I'm not going to sit around and wait for this whole thing to be sorted out when this needs to be addressed and blown up right now. This is dangerous. This is insane.
Making for the reformation of the Michigan Republican Party as a whole, not as counties or districts, state party, as a whole. If you have control of the county parties and you have control of the district parties, you essentially have one party.
Yeah. By the way, William, Aaron Tuckfield disputes your characterization. He says, I was running the 9th, and that's not what happened. It was slow because none of the volunteers for Case Hermitage knew how to run things, wanted to work for Warren Carpenter. I don't know, guys. Look, I wasn't there. I'm not going to mediate this dispute. Two people say two different things. So there you go.
Missing the point. We're talking about two different things. That's all. I won't dispute what Aaron said.
Yeah. Mindy Teets points out, delegates try to get a meeting with Christina about the budget, and she didn't oblige. She isn't going to oblige now. Good point.
I personally know that the chairman of Oakland tried to reach out to her many times to no avail. So, I mean,
Aaron says to the Supreme Committee.
Resolve that conflict.
Yeah, ask the Supreme Committee to get a meeting with Christina.
We have a conflict with state committee.
Yeah. So the state Supreme conflict committee.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
There's a point to be made here that if you use the process that's set forth for committees to run under Robert's rules outside of our bylaws, there's a process, and there are provisions written for conflicts and resolutions. We've used it recently to square up a couple things with just some clerical issues, and we formed a conflicts and resolutions committee, and they've solved the problem, and it's done. Okay, so you can do that within. You don't need to form a Supreme Committee and throw all this gauntlet down. I mean, it sounds like, that we're entering the CCP.
Yeah, I mean, it is. The language is interesting, and it's especially peculiar that there, first of all, just now exists something called the Conflict Resolution Committee, and now they have something they're proposing to be called the State Supreme Conflict Resolution Committee.
Like Taco Bell, you got regular tacos, and then you have like Supreme.
Yeah, State Supreme tacos.
They'll say it.
Yeah.
They didn't even have a chance to do their job yet to be like, nope, you're already, getting bumped for the Supreme team.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, I mean, why do they use the term State Supreme? What does that sound like to you? State Supreme Court, as in has jurisdiction over local courts?
Correct.
I feel like it's like very Star Wars. What's the name of the Star Wars thing where they all meet and they're like, oh.
I don't know, the Supreme Council or something?
Yeah, like it just all sounds...
The Galactic Council?
Very nefarious, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all nefarious. I mean, what other reason would you have to form such a committee other than to control the elements that you defined?
Because they want to go after the people they don't like.
And I want to also point out that, again, we are all coming from different walks of life. In terms of grassroots and what grassroots means to us. I think we all would consider ourselves grassroots. And so when people are pitting us against Christina and saying, oh, you're not grassroots because you're against Christina. No, I'm very grassroots. But I also know that Christina's not doing her job, and I'm pointing that out. So am I the bad guy for pointing out truth? That she was hired to raise money, or she was hired to be chairman. That job is to raise money, and she's not doing it, and then you attack me.
Councils. It's not the job, is it, to form supreme councils?
It's not the job.
I gotta catch up on chats for a second here. Randy Guppy says, can we also have a Supreme Issues Committee? I'm bored on the regular one.
He wants a promotion. He wants a promotion.
On Rumble, Tyler 400 asks, Trucker Randy was on the last show. No, he wasn't, but he was in the comments as you're defending fathers on YouTube. That's where that came from. Charlotte Cosmic says, crazy letter. You think AI wrote it? No, because AI wouldn't have made those spelling and grammar mistakes. Capitalist Lady on Rumble also asked, have you actually asked someone on the MRP executive committee? Did you reach out to Christina? Well, we have someone on the executive committee on the show right now, so here we are. But besides that, no,
Jessica,
I've not reached out to Christina.
How often are you in contact with Christina, if you don't mind me asking?
For me, it has not been very regular. We have some of the other district chairs that have been in more contact, and I know we are asking for more consistent and more frequent communication.
So we are reaching out. When people say, why isn't the county chairs reaching out? They're reaching out.
Several requests have been made, yes. So I believe she is trying to organize one specifically with county and district chairs, but that we've had nothing formal yet.
Yeah. Mark Ashley Price says, bless the day when the state GOP finally realizes that they are just an old bag of bones. Well, the state party had more than a fair share of problems in previous administrations, Mark. There's no question about that. The problems we have right now are a very different sort of problems than we've had in the past. The problems we used to have were they spent money very poorly. They were a welfare office for lazy consultants. They didn't run hard-hitting, effective things. They didn't use the resources to train and provide resources to the county and district parties effectively. I get that. Those are all things that have always been endemic problems with the state party. This is something radically different from that, though. This is the state party now trying to extend their incompetence in crushing and taking over the county and district committees, which is
Bethany's
absolutely insane.
Oh, Bethany's.
Yeah. Bethany.
Yeah, and Discovery and yeah.
Hold on, wait. You guys are asking me to read a chat because there's actually a bunch of them just came in.
Bethany and Discovery. Yeah.
Bethany Wheeler had a good one too. Yeah.
All right, I'll read a few of them. Daniel Lawless says, committee in itself isn't a terrible concept. There have been a number of disputes about caucus results. Macomb, in a big dispute last year, having a committee investigate and advise the chair makes sense, but this proposal is not acceptable. Agreed. Kara says, I say we get rid of the state party and let the counties rule. Well, I get that, but the state party is supposed to deal with statewide races like governor, attorney general, secretary of state, U.S. Senate, president of the United States. It's good to have a state party, but that's.
Well, didn't we? So.
And normally RNC goes with them. So RNC dictates the MIGOP and the MIG. Yeah. So now I'm trying to go to RNC and they're like, we can't talk to you. And I'm like, okay. So who do I talk to?
Well, the county doesn't really have a role other than a convention representation because the state committee is developed from the districts. So I don't really see why they think there's just this power play or an overlay over the counties. Okay. I mean, listen, the body of the convention in August 2022 determined what we did with Macomb County delegates, not the committee. The body did that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they expect from the committees. Okay, so they're not going to recognize us? Well, they can not recognize Oakland. They can not recognize Macomb. And how about Kent? And we'll just pick
exactly
up the larger, whether they have. I don't know
Yeah.
what the end game is other than control.
Yeah, and let me read a few more chats, and then we'll kind of try to wrap this. We'll try to wrap up this topic because, I mean, frankly, I don't think this is going to get anywhere with the state central committee. Honestly, I think people are going to realize this is crazy. Bethany Wheeler says, in discovery in the Kalamazoo case, emails with Ken Bayer, who is the District 4 chair, were turned over. He has plans to replace county chairs he doesn't like. Interesting. If true, I can't confirm. Bill Hamilton says, sounds like the MIGOP needs a new name, Michigan Grand Old Communist Party. Well, let's hope not. Chris Gursky says, people all over Michigan need to run for school boards and city council seats. Dang right. And let's see. Well, there's some other comments that are going back and forth about individuals that I can't comment on because I don't know who they are, and I don't want to drag even more people into this debate than we already have. So I'll just say this, folks. I don't think this is going to have legs. I think this is going to just ultimately damage Christina even more because it takes 2/3 to amend the bylaws, does it not?
And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to usurp the bylaws being rewritten by saying there's a supreme lord.
I wonder what other organization does that.
So, yeah, exactly. So what happened at the last meeting was that the parliamentarian negotiated with general counsel on all rulings. Well, right there, that's out of order because the parliamentarian deals with the chair. Now, the general counsel may have a question, but he's supposed to direct it to the chair to the parliamentarian, and back and forth. So, with my case getting in, well, the parliamentarian and general counsel made that decision along with the chief of staff. And then when they decided to vote on transparency, going back to an open meeting, which was really out of order, the motion, but either way, we'll give them the fact that the dispute became whether a simple majority or a 2/3 was necessary. And there becomes the problem because it only took a simple majority to enter or exit in the executive session motion. That's it. Doesn't take a 2/3, doesn't take a 3/4. It takes 3/4 to remove somebody. 2/3 is for different situations. But in this case, I believe they'll need a 2/3 for bylaws to add committees and stuff, things of that such, without actually referring to it. But again, because they knew there was a majority to exit their closed meeting, they argued that it took a 2/3. Now, the parliamentarian, after the fact, conceded to a certified parliamentarian in the room that he made a mistake. So there goes the problem. Who's running the show? The parliamentarian on parliamentary rule or general counsel intimidating? And so if you read the language in that document, it's all intimidation. It's really all it is. They're trying to tell you what you're going to do. And if you don't like it, well, here's the consequences. Well, that little story's been written since caucus night.
This is all completely untenable. This is not going to work. I mean,
well, it works for the Dems. The Dems, it's fall in line. Fall in line, Republicans. Supreme Court.
I don't see this happening. I think, first of all, I'd be amazed if they can even get a majority to approve any of this crap. And secondly, these guys clearly think that they understand the law and that this Heitmannish case gives them license to do whatever they want. It's not going to work that way.
Right.
And by the way, Hartman and others have already a bad reputation in the courts. So we'll see. I don't think this is going to stand. So,
hey, Kelly.
anyway.
Highlight Kelly's comments. That's when they're going to start handing you your pink slips.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. We'll see. We shall see. Anyway, I want to move on from this nasty topic because, frankly, we've spent now 3 streams talking about all this nonsense.
I agree, Mindy.
And sooner or later, we're going to run into an election, and the more this crap keeps happening, the more. I mean, the more we're going to be actually defeated at the polls. And that's kind of a bad thing. So maybe we should move on from this nasty topic.
I just
go
like
ahead,
it makes me. Oh yeah, no, we can move on. This could be a pivot. This could be a pivot point.
Sure.
I'm just so sick of people saying, you know, oh that rhino, that rep, they did one bad vote. I hate them. You know, they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
But yet they'll defend Christina to the bitter end, and she's not doing her job.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, people have people have very selective enforcement of their principles. You know?
Exactly. You can sit here and go rah rah when you're beating up our guy, Adam. We love you, but oh, don't touch. That's the definition of a cult. And if you're gonna come at me, and I'm not saying you, and then you know just the web world for pointing out that you're you might be in a cult, you might just be mad that I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah. Sheila on Facebook says county chairs, district chairs, and state committee members have Zoom meeting tomorrow at 7 with Christina. Received email from Christina last night. Also received email Saturday that bi-monthly work sessions will be held via Zoom.
Sounds awfully micromanaging.
So I would like to comment on that. Yeah, the call tomorrow is for training on the Good Neighbor program. That's not a district call or a chair call. So that, yeah, I mean that there should be a separate call for those specifically.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, I'm just reading chats here, folks. So,
where's the money coming from for that Good Neighbor program?
What money? What?
Yeah, we'll touch that on that now. Yeah, what money?
Yeah, what money? I heard at that state committee meeting during Q&A, which, by the way, from everybody I talked to, and that once I got inside that meeting, that more answers were given up in the Q&A than they were given up in the meeting, and that's only because she had pressure.
I agree with that. Yes.
I heard 10 to 15 million to implement that Good Neighbor program at a minimum.
I am still trying to get clarification on the costs. I've heard there's a per delegate cost, a county cost, but that is unclear.
Okay.
So I don't want to speculate, but that, yeah, it's still unclear what that total expense would be.
Well,
even though we have nowhere near that money.
Well, whatever that amount of money is, and why don't if it involves these figures you folks are talking about,
you can be a good neighbor.
Let me present perhaps
$35.
A more affordable solution for you.
$35 Rescue Michigan.
Yeah, we have this little thing here, folks, at rescuemichigan.com. You may not have seen this thing, although it actually is featured on our little homepage for the past I don't know 2 years, where there's this stuff we have called voter data that you can actually acquire, and if you complete this simple form here, you can create a username at Rescue Michigan. You can log in, and for $35 you can get the list of all the voters in your precinct, complete with phone numbers, party affiliation scores. You've got demographic information. I mean, just to show you, I mean, here's what the basic all registered voters list looks like. The simplified version, where you get phone numbers and addresses and some certain things that are highlighted, and you click on any given voter and it's got their address, their phone number. You can apply issue tags if you want. You can apply status tags, GOP precinct delegate, so on and so forth. And you can actually edit the sequence of the streets to be able to generate walking lists to go out and knock on doors. You can use phone tools. Jonathan Chapman says, "You better not show that. It will become MIGOP's idea." I've been promoting this program for 2 years now, folks. But there's more to it than this too. There's actually, on the precinct plan, there's a whole 100-page book you can download on everything you need to know on how to organize your precinct. You can sort the streets in your precinct into given walks so that you can knock on doors really easily. And we have this available for every single precinct in the state of Michigan. So, and let me show you what this voter data looks like, because it's pretty amazing. I have to close that window and open a new one only because I'm switching over to a spreadsheet now. But if I go to, like, I download my voter file, there's different options. You can download it for every registered voter, or for likely Republican primary voters, or for likely Republicans with activists and donors. If you want to just, knock on doors of people who you might be very likely to recruit to knock on doors with you, or to get the word out, or build a local organization. But the complete voter file has tons and tons and tons of data in it. So I will show you what we're looking at here. Hold on, I'm still opening this list up. My computer took the liberty of rebooting itself a little while ago, and as a result of that, I'm still kind of
Yeah, Adam, we've had some delegates in our area that have purchased their precinct and found, I've reviewed it, and it is very detailed. Gives you a lot of detail on the voter and very informative information.
Well, thank you for saying so. Here, let me show people what we're talking about here.
I mean, you cover a wide range of how, basically how that person is voted, or what a voting pattern.
Yeah, here's for example a precinct someone just ordered, and this is in Plymouth. So let me make this bigger so people can see. This is for, actually, someone got 3 precincts in Plymouth, so there's 5,800 rows in here. You've got the state voter ID. That's the key that links it to the state qualified voter file. First name, last name, year of birth, sex, registration date, home address, secondary address, precinct, ward, school district, district information, permanent absentee voter status, election history for every election going back to 2009, presidential primary data, which presidential primary ballots they voted on, demographic information, what certain special categories of people they might be members of, like business owners. You want to look up business owners in your precinct, whether they're pro-life, pro-abortion. There's a GOP activist column in here. You get a few of those. Veteran status, pro-gun, anti-gun, pro-Obamacare, anti-Obamacare. Real quick, Mindy asks, how often is this updated? When people order these from me, I order them from my vendor, and he's updating constantly. So it's as new as when you order it within the past few months.
And so you get so many updates, right?
You can get updates periodically for the first year. Yeah. Anyway, you've got all these issue scores. You've got donor information, Democrat donors, judicial donors, PAC donors, union donors. This is a funny field it stands for index of social position from 1 to 10 of how wealthy they are, or from 1 to 9. Home value, net worth, education. Some of these things are modeled. I get that. More issue positions on all these different issues. These are modeled. I don't rely on them, but they're interesting. Every voter, a GOP score from 0 to 100 on how likely they are to be Republican voters. Cell phone numbers, home phone numbers, address information all in one field. Active challenge or verify voter status fields. This is some of the more recent election histories since there's been some more recent elections. There's a Trump donor column, some absentee ballot status columns, Michigan Republican donor columns, and Michigan Republican donation amounts. Let's see what we have here. Pete Hoekstra for governor, interesting. Committee to elect John Lackney. I don't know who that is, but probably someone from Plymouth. There's another one. There's another Hoekstra there. Senate Republican Campaign Committee. Wonder who that might be. Oakland County GOP. Ralph Rebant from governor. So you can see who these different people are supporting and how much money they're giving them. This is all public record, folks. And then, of course, the last 2 election vote histories. So, yeah, $35 for a precinct, which is 1 to 3,000 voters. And also, if you guys want to get like lots of them, the cost goes down sharply as you buy more of them in bulk. So wait, it's available for every precinct in the state.
I am now, Amber, what you mentioned about getting updates. I didn't know about that part. Could you repeat that?
You're asking me?
Yeah. So if someone buys them, I assume it's like
we can request updates for a year. We had some people that bought them at the beginning of the year before the general election information came in now, and we can update them. We can give them updated lists as that happened.
All right, that's good to know. Thanks.
Bethany Wheeler asks, can I post the link again? Yeah, go to, I will show you once again. You just go to Hold on. Let me open the screen up again. Just go to good old rescuemichigan.com, and I'm logged in right now. But if I log out, then there is a link to register. And when you register, you fill out a simple form. It gets your basic information, enough to figure out what precinct you might live in. You click a few more forms, and then once you specify your precinct, it says, okay, it's $35. That's because A, we have to actually buy this data, and B, because we don't want to give this data away for free to potentially Democrats. And we order it. And we're doing a promotion this week, so we'll be extra on top of getting these orders placed as quickly as possible and installed for you as fast as possible. And yeah, you can generate walk lists. I'll show you another version of the data. If I go to, once I log in, I go to Grassroots HQ, there's the voter file tool. And there's I showed you, we can organize the streets in your precinct. When you organize the streets in your precinct, you can generate these PDF files and then download them, and it will specify the order of the streets in your precinct. So here, let me download this one, and I'm gonna have to open it up. So let me do that real quick. Hold on. Let me open the file, and I'll show you what they look like. Here we go. And for every walk list in the order that you specify, it gives you lists of all the households. The households they're grouped by household, sorted by the age of the voter. So the head of household comes up at the top, gives you the scores, tells you what the most likely are, the phone numbers, let's add the asterisks or the turnout score, how likely they are to vote. And the GOP score is listed on there as well. So you can go out, knock on doors, know what kind of doors you're knocking on as you're going. So all this data is available. And we have it for every single precinct in Michigan available. So, hey, if you want to have a good neighbor program, all you gotta do is become a precinct leader. And if we had people doing this in every precinct, every time I've knocked on doors, and Amber, you're a door knocking expert, you know this stuff. You find somebody who's like, wow, thank you so much. They're few and far between, but when you meet them, it's like, I can just recruit another volunteer now. And that's how you grow a team.
Absolutely. And I think that because we have a city captain program in our county that we're implementing now, and it's just for canvassing efforts.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is, there could be 2 people to a city or 1 person to a lot of little cities, depending on how many delegates are in each city. And I communicate to them, say, hey, let's do a canvassing day. I'll come out. I'll show you our data software, how we use it. And then if somebody's uncomfortable, because you always get those people that don't want to door knock, because it's uncomfortable. I said, I'll personally go with you. We'll have, just a dialogue. And so you always just want to pair your strongest person up with almost somebody that doesn't want to go. And hopefully that experience will impact that positively.
Yeah, what we've been doing in Washtenaw County is we have these walk days scheduled. And like the first one we did, we had someone sign up for the first time. She went out and knocked on doors with someone that had ran for office before. And they went out together. We always tell people to go out in pairs because, first of all, it's instant social proof for the person at the door that there's 2 of you and not just 1 of you. It makes everybody feel safer and more receptive. And then, and you learn from each other. So these 2 went out and knocked on doors. And when they came back, the guy who was the expert was like, she's a natural at this. And then we had a second walk day. She signs up. And then we pair her up with somebody else. And we're getting people that are getting more accustomed and more experienced as we go because we're training people to become better and better door knockers. So that's why this is so powerful. I like to say to people, knocking on doors for the first time is like going to the gym for the first time. It's really, really scary until you get there and you actually start doing it, and then it's not so tough. We have some people in the chats on Rumble. Hans One Pack says, should MIGOP be providing this to each county GOP? Yeah, they should. And that's not on Christina too, because frankly, those are the previous chair. But the problem that the parties have always had, the state party and even the national party, is their data sucks. And part of the reason why it's so bad is because what they've been doing year after year after year is they pay people to canvass and then they pressure them to turn in huge quantities of data. So they lie. And that just happens over and over again. And then the data is no good. So it's generally just not a good policy. And anytime I've worked on a campaign, I'm like, yeah, the state will give you, they'll lease you their voter file if you agree to contribute back what your campaign takes in. But these, first of all, are rarely even honored properly, and then it usually turns out the data is bad in the first place. So
highlight Kara's question. So this is a good question right now. Oh no, the second one. Do you talk to homeowners about their rep or in general right now? So when you have your door knocking days, Adam, what are you going out and saying? And then I'll say what Oakland's going to do.
Well, it depends on the circumstances, and it depends on what your plan is. What we did in the last few weeks is we've been going out knocking on doors in a precinct where it's a swing district. It was a very close race, and the Democrat, like all the Democrats, has an extremist voting record. So we have a card that shows how extreme our voting record is, and we say, I'm just out we're out here knocking on doors because we're very concerned about what our state representative has been doing. And have you heard from her? Do you know what she's been up to? And usually they're like, they've no idea. Who? I don't know who my state rep is. Well, this is our state representative, and you hand the card over. That is the nasty attack piece. Like, she voted for all this stuff and introduced all this stuff in her first 6 months in office, and this is way too extreme. And we get a conversation going, and usually they'll say, like, are you a Democrat or Republican? No, we're Republicans. We can clarify that, and that's how that goes. But there's all kinds of different things that people do at the door at different times. One of the things I've done on other occasions is just hand out a flyer saying I'm a Trump supporter and I'm trying to get an organization together of Trump supporters. So I've got a meeting scheduled at JR's in 3 weeks, and you're welcome to come. And we hand a flyer over, and 3 weeks later, 30 people come to the precinct meeting. So there's all kinds of things you can do, and it just depends. But the earlier you do it, the better, because a year from now, when we're in the heat of the election, you can't just start building a narrative then. Now's the time to start telling voters like how crazy these Democrats are and what they're doing, and why isn't the media talking about this? And don't you think it's a little extreme that you co-sponsored a bill to allow children to run away from home and get sexually mutilated by strangers? Stuff like that. So, Amber, you go ahead. You're gonna say.
Yeah, in Oakland right now, we have to identify. We're using data. Like, we have a data program that we're purchasing, or we're purchasing for the next 2 years, and we have about 350,000 voters that lie in that in-between mark. So we're taking this down season the next 4 months, and we're canvassing those doors specifically and seeing where they lie on the spectrum, and really just trying to, target those efforts in the general election, trying to get our data correct for mailers or for, outreach. And then also right now we're doing not me, the Troy parent group of Troy, Michigan. And anybody that wants to get involved with something right now, this is really important, actually. The next 15 days, they need to collect 6,000 signatures to recall the Troy school board. No, 9,000, but 6,000 I think they have left to get, because they've been active now for 15 days. So now it's coming down to crunch time. So if you want to do any door knocking and nothing's going on in your area, call me or email Adam, and he'll get a hold of me. But we need to focus on the Troy School District. What the school board did is they had meetings full of parents screaming at them, essentially, to not do away with honors classes. I mean, parents move to school districts for the great schools, and the school board asked honors classes for these parents. And so they're literally just destroying the school district, and that's the school board. So they're aiming to recall the school board. So that's another effort we're trying to assist with as much as we can, is getting, petition signing, door knockers there. So again, that's my pitch, but that's what we're doing on doors, is just identifying voters so we can have a better map going forward in 2024 for our data.
Yeah, I mean, I should say, especially because I mentioned this in passing in the email we kicked out today, that recalls are very often a trap, though, for people that are looking for an easy way to win. And we hear about recalls in states like California. In Michigan, the number of signatures you need is astronomical, and it's very difficult. Now, that does not mean that it isn't still worthwhile to go out knocking on doors and collecting recall signatures, because in doing so, you're still having the conversations with the voters about how bad these incumbents are. So I'm not saying don't do it, but I caution people. I met with a group that was going out to do a recall campaign this past week, and they say, they're talking about recalling somebody, and eventually I get out of them. But they're not just talking about recalling one state rep, they're talking about recalling like 10 plus. And it's like, well, gee, guys, if you have the resources to recall one and we only need one to stop the Democrats having majority, why not focus all of your efforts on this one district? But no, we got to focus on 10 of them. And plus they're starting like imminently. You have a 2-month window to collect signatures for like, the number is so high that till you filter out non-interested voters and Democrat voters, you're down to basically needing to get the signature of every other registered voter that's conservative in the entire district. And they're doing it in a month when, it's August, it's vacation time. Not good timing. So it's not easy. Yeah, Mindy says, look what happened with Whitmer. People wanted to recall her and it fueled her last campaign. Yeah, exactly. So that is an issue. But again, as I say, if you're going out collecting recall signatures, you can still do good work identifying people that are going to sign a recall petition. There's nothing wrong with that. But I encourage people to please be aware of the challenges there are in recalls. There have been so many recall campaigns over the last 20 some years that almost always come up short. It's very, very difficult, and it's extremely expensive if you've got the resources. Most of the time, you're trying to knock out somebody, beat them in the next election. Is
I
my
like
advice.
Jamie's comment. This one's huge.
Oh, hold on, I've got some to catch up on here. Okay, I'll read this one. Recalls also remove the caps for campaign contributions. I would strongly encourage people not to do a recall unless you're absolutely sure you can win. It could turn a $1 million race into $5 million. Yeah, that's what happened with Whitmer. And if you're talking about recalling an incumbent Democrat where their entire majority hangs in the balance, you can bet they're going to raise that kind of money because that's how much they need to protect their majority with. I want to go back to another comment here. Jay Michaud says, didn't you say once that people need 5 separate contacts to be moved to action or to change their minds? That's why it's urgent to start now. Yeah. And trying to spin a narrative in the 3 months before election day in 2024, when everyone's thinking about Trump and Biden and blah, 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 blah. And then you start coming out and saying, the state representative is supporting child sexual mutilation. If they haven't heard that before, they're going to just ignore it. You have to start that narrative building early. On Rumble, Hans1PK says, if it is state rep districts, okay, so $35 a county, 83 counties is $2,900. No, it's $35 a precinct, but the cost goes down as you buy in bulk. I think a state house seat comes out to about $500. A congressional seat, I think, is like $2,000. So it works out. I mean, it's affordable if a large enough entity got into it. I have sold huge county voter files, though. Someone bought the entire voter file for Kent County. I've recently distributed files for Gladwin County, Manistee County, and for the smaller counties, it's a lot more affordable. It's like a couple $100 depending on how big it is. So yeah.
Highlighting Jay's message. So he says nobody's getting campaign mailers right now, so your message at the door will be the only political message. I mean, these voter files too come with phone numbers. So if you're brazen, you could do phone banking efforts as well, or you could do text messaging efforts. I do text messaging a lot. I almost have people at the office text messaging every day because it's extremely effective. And the data gives you those numbers. And believe it or not, people are not that rude. Kara is a huge texter with me. So it's that's a way to touch the voter too. Texting, phone calling, in-person, mailers, TV ads. But there's inexpensive ways we can still do it right now.
Yeah. And honestly, door-to-door contact is the most memorable form of voter contact that there is, period. Everything else does not imprint. A lot of things are targeting so broadly that you're hitting people outside the district, which confuses them. You're hitting non-voters. People try billboards and they think, politicians love billboards. They all think, the reality is they love seeing their picture on the billboard. But they're hitting people that don't vote. They're hitting people that don't live in the district or the state. And they're spending a lot more money. You do a radio ad, a huge majority of people aren't listening to any given radio station at any given time. Same problem with internet. But you knock on doors, you're hitting voters in the district in a way that they remember when they see a real person there. And gathering data from knocking on the door.
Right. So what do you say to the people that are going, no, Adam, it's not effective. I want 4 hours and only talked to 3 people. Go.
Well, a couple of points. One is I've knocked on doors for 2 hours and talked to a lot more than 3, so there's something you're doing wrong. But honestly, I mean, this is why I say go out in pairs, because there's a chance when you knock on a door, you're not saying something that's going to be working very well for people. Like I was knocking on doors once with somebody for their first time a couple weeks ago, and we're just chatting with voters about one thing or another. And at one point, she says to me as we're between doors, "Yeah, I want to." What did she say exactly? Something along the lines of, I want to tell the voters that Regina Miller supports teaching kids oral sex in elementary schools or something like that. And I was like, well, she probably does, but I don't think that's going to work. And then we went to a door and she actually did just blurt that out. And so I was like, okay, that was not good, So this is how we learn is going door to door and having someone with you so that you can kind of coach each other up a little bit. So those things do happen. At the end of the day, it's only one vote. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, you got to be careful sometimes.
What do you think the best time to go is?
When the sun is out. I mean, people ask me this all the time. There's no one right answer to this, folks. Some people are home during the week. Some people are away during the week because they're at work. Some people are on vacation on weekends. There's no magical formula. And the reality is that trying to save yourself for the most effective time to go out knocking on doors is really you trying to subconsciously limit the number of times you go out knocking on doors. Knock on doors when the weather's nice. That's all there is to it. So Kara says some say Saturday 3 to and Sunday 3 to 7. When I went out knocking on doors on a Saturday 3 to 7 a couple weeks ago, we had terrible luck at the doors with people not being home because it was a holiday weekend. So you just never know. Knock on doors whenever you can. What other comments do we have here? Hans 1PK says on Rumble, Democrats do text messages all the time. I get a lot of them. Yeah, text messages are doing very well. They're doing well, and they're getting more and more influential, and we should be doing more of them too. STV Live says something about Tucker having a new show with a special guest. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to click a link because I don't do that when I'm reading live chats, but there's apparently something Tucker's up to, which is good because his Twitter feed's been mostly kind of quiet lately. Aska Barden says retired age go during week, working age go during weekend. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is when you're available is a big question. Aaron Tuckfield says any legal restrictions on text messages? Yes, and that's a whole topic for another day. So
but if you're texting them personally from your phone, no, there's not. If you're hitting the send button and you have people texting, but if you do a mass text message through a company, that's when they come in.
Yeah.
Is that what you're understanding?
Well, yeah, there may be quiet hours rules about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that applies to only mass text or to one-to-one text, if that's a workaround or not. There's other potential things too. But yeah, I would say, talk to a campaign about that maybe, because there are sometimes legal nuances about texting. What else do we have in the chat? There's been a bunch of chats going back and forth that we kind of skipped over, talking about the GOP's debt and what all that is all about. So I want to just comment briefly about a couple of things on the campaign debt. First off, folks, it's absolutely normal for a state party to spend all of their money in the election. That's the rule, not the exception, because they want to do everything they possibly can to win the election. What's weird and not the exception is when the incoming chair does not have the ability to raise money to repay the debt. So that's where the problem is there. But no, when Ron Weiser came into the state chair, Laura Cox left him with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I mean, that's, like I said, that's the way it usually goes, because you want to spend all of your money winning the race, and the time to start rebuilding is right after the election is over.
And that's what you run a campaign on. You have a campaign, you have a plan, and then people vote on you to implement that plan.
Yeah. All right. Burning Mime on Rumble says that's spam. Yes, but the courts have said that as long as you're individually hitting send and actually having a person hit send for every single one text you send,
peer-to-peer.
it's not illegal. It's peer-to-peer, exactly. When you're sending mass texts out, then there's all kinds of additional regulations and things. So, but there's workarounds that may not be here forever, but they're here right now. And one of them is if you send text one-to-one, which there are companies now that facilitate you doing what's called peer-to-peer text, and you can do it that way. And Jay says, shouldn't the parties at every level spend most of their money during each election cycle? I don't understand the point of saving it if you need it to win. Yep, I mean, that's right. You spend as much money as you possibly can. You might need to leave a bare minimum out in the account, but in general, yeah.
I highlight Jonathan Chapman's last comment. Yes, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. There's no playbook for Christina. There's no playbook for me as an executive director. I came in with nothing. And you come in and literally you have to use your brain. And your brain tells you, call everybody. It's uncomfortable. It's hard to say no, or it's hard to hear no, I'm sorry. But you can call every business in Michigan. Just cold call them. I think I was talking to somebody this week. I said, we're just going to start cold calling places. Why not? We have nothing to lose and you need to gain money. You call 500,000 business. There should be somebody at the MIGOP office every day calling everywhere and sending the link for donations to everybody. There should be somebody texting every day, random numbers to get donations.
Yeah.
It's a fundraising game and it's hard to hear no's.
Offer commission. Why didn't Christina think of that? I don't know.
But I mean, when people are asking us, why don't we help Christina? You don't hire a CEO of a company and say, okay, we're going to help them do their job. No, you hire the CEO of a company to do the job and help manage the people to tell them what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of the thing is, when we got back in charge of our county Republican Party, we started thinking of every single way we can to be effective, and and everyone's doing the most they can, the best they can. And of course, some people don't do anything, but the ones that do, it's like, okay, well, we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to do this, we have to do that, and you try everything you possibly can, and that's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you get so many amazing volunteers, and you just put them where their talents most utilized, and that takes a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam, I'm sure you're still learning. I've been there for 1.5 years, and I'm still, I have my great, amazing base. But you have to be the managing person, and you can't help from the bottom up when you hire somebody to help organize from the top. It's just not effective. But yeah, making phone calls every day. If you're a district chair, Jessica, I'd call the businesses in my community that I've known has been, Republican, or just go ask, hey, what about this, these taxes? Oh gosh. Hey, are you Republican?
Yeah.
I know you're
chances are, we've talked about this, you already shop or patronize places that you already know are conservative, at least half a dozen off the top of your head that can hopefully help in the cause.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so then you just ask for donations. Hey, I'm the 12th district chair. We have a donation link. If you ever feel to give with your heart, we'd accept it. This is what we're doing with the money. This is our goals. This is how we're going to implement it. We'd love for you to donate.
Yeah, even just asking volunteers to reach out to people for the first time. Like when we did our Lincoln Day, we ended up having somebody who just asked a local business to donate and ended up donating all the desserts for our Lincoln Day dinner for free. And, which was huge.
Oh, those were so good.
Yeah, they were amazing. Life is Sweet Bakery in Milan, folks. If you're ever going through Milan, stop by. They're amazing. And we're actively now trying to support them too because of what they did for us. And this is how relationships get built. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, though, here's the thing, if you're going to get involved in your county GOP or your district level or state level, that's all wonderful. But everybody can get involved in your own precinct. You don't need an effective state party to be a precinct leader. And I know some of you live in defective county and district Republican committees too. You can still knock on doors in your precinct. And that can make a difference. At the statewide level, which means the president of the United States, every vote matters. And there's votes to be gotten in every single place. And, you go out and knock on doors. You might grow your own organization with people who look to you as a leader. That might be your path to build a more effective local Republican or organization.
Everyone's the chair of their own precinct.
Yep.
That was good. That was really good. You should coin that. Trademark it. I like it.
Yeah. All right. I'm not sure what more we got tonight, folks. We've been going for almost an hour and a half again, so it's been a great chat. But other than that, I think we've kind of covered this topic pretty well. At some point, I need to do a stream about Ukraine stuff because I've been postponing that for too long. I know it's not what our viewers like to hear about, but boy, it's been a crazy few months. But coming up next week, we will almost definitely not have a Wednesday stream because there's a Kyle Rittenhouse event in Ionia that day, unless I'm live streaming from there, which is not inconceivable, but not likely. There will be no stream on Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, there's a huge event for our county GOP. It's the Ann Arbor Art Fair when literally 500,000 people come to that city. So we've got lots of stuff to do for that. And then this next Sunday, I'm going on vacation to see my family. So we may have no stream next Sunday either, but we'll try to fit something in. But yeah, I don't know. That's all I got for us for right now. Amber, Patty, William, Jessica, thank you guys for coming on. If you've got anything you want to share with our audience before we go, and I will see if there's any chats I wish I had read, but I'm looking around.
I can plug
I always try and visit the Washtenaw County every time I go to the Ann Arbor Art Fair every year. I always try and stop by your booth in the nonprofit section. So.
Oh, cool. Well, we have a fresh coat of paint on our booth this year, and it's going to be more colorful than ever. So.
We have at Oakland, we have an ice cream social coming up on Monday, July 24th at the Commerce Library. If you are in town for the Woodward Dream Cruise, we have an event at our office. It's August 19th, and we're going to have a band and hot dogs and classic cars and fun stuff August 19th, and that's in Woodward, our Woodward headquarters off in Bloomfield. And that's what I have. Oh, a yard sale. We have our giant yard sale coming up July 27th, and we're taking donations for that. So if you have any items that you'd like to donate for July 27th yard sale that we're doing in combination with the 11th, that would be amazing. And then come to the yard sale from July 27th, 28th, and 29th. So that's all.
Awesome.
Oakland's events. William, Jessica, anything else?
Gun show on the 1st and 2nd, or 22nd, 3rd.
Yep, we'll be at the Novi Gun Show with a booth. And I think our big goals is to register voters and just kind of tell people who we are as a county and that we're here and we're not abandoning them.
Yeah.
Correct.
On Rumble, Hands1PK says, wait, hold on. Is this the right one I was going to read? No. It's me again. Sai says, big donors aren't going to give to non-rhinos. That's not necessarily true.
Big donors.
Maybe some
no,
don't.
that's absolutely not true. And it just that drives me nuts. But really fast, we also need texters. So anybody that wants to volunteer into the office, we need people to, make contact with phones and just do phone touching voters right now. And then I told the Troy petitions. But no, see that preconceived notion that big donors aren't going to give to non-rhinos, it literally is your excuse for not calling them. It is your excuse that you can't get over because you have a preconceived notion that, oh my gosh, these donors give to bad people. Oh, you just need to call and have a conversation with people. We're sick of they're all in this mess with us. We're all sick of the dysphoria, the gender dysphoria. We're all sick of our kids. We're all sick of the taxes. We're all in the same boat. You just have to make the ask, and then you build a relationship, and then you build trust. And they might not give you $100,000, but they might give you 10.
Yeah, you never know what someone's personal inclinations are, and they change over time. And some of them are frustrated. Some of them might be frustrated with the state party and will give to your local party. And some give to issue-oriented groups too, liberty groups, gun groups, pro-life groups. You don't know what they're, and well, actually, some of you might from your precinct voter files that you can get from rescuemichigan.com, which sometimes give you some indications of some of the things that people have a habit supporting. But yeah, I mean, there are wealthy people that support a lot of these causes, and groups like the NRA and the National Association for Gun Rights, you bet they've got high dollar donors. The reason why your organization might not have high dollar donors is because you didn't ask. You didn't ask enough people.
And then next Wednesday we'll announce. So there's a whole Kyle Rittenhouse Day. It starts off with a brunch in Grand Haven. So if you're in the Grand Haven, Muskegon area, there's a brunch being hosted by the GMP PAC and Sons of Liberty. It's going to be in Grand Haven on the beach. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Tickets are $45 and $75 for a picture. And I think you can go onto the GMP website, gmppac.com, for that. And then there's a free event in Ionia following, that's an all-day event starting at 8. And I think that's where Adam's going to be. And then there's a dinner that night as well for tickets. So that's Wednesday, Kyle Rittenhouse Day.
Awesome. Sheila says, Adam, check your email. I sent you a letter from Christina outlining the systematic failures that were present when she took over. Well, once she took over, the entire state apparatus had changed over to brand new hands. So, I mean, look, I don't doubt there was all these failures, but those don't excuse her failures. So what's the difference?
Well, she has
Aaron Tuckfield says, Adam, thanks for putting on the Supreme live
I
stream.
think that's a good note to go out on. That's a good comment.
All right.
Note.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Amber.
Yeah, just one quick thing, if I can say.
On your own. Sorry, Jessica, go ahead.
No, just real quick. I see a couple of comments here. So the 12th congressional district, we're very close to launching our website here by the end of the month. So we can share that info. And I do see Heather Herman. So the Wayne County Republican Committee does have their picnic on Monday, the 24th. That's in Canton. We can also share details on that.
All right. As always, guys. Thanks for all you do for Liberty. It's been a fun stream. We will be back at some point this week. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but we'll always be in touch. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yep.
We'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Jessica. William as well. Good to see you guys on your first time. Amber and Patty, as always. Stick around, everybody, for we can say our goodbyes after we go off the air. Thanks, everybody. Until next time.